All right, two ways to get into the band for the hip bridges. One, you can sit down and hook the band across. I think it's easier just to lift the band up and slide under the band so that way the band is right across the crease that your legs and your torso make when you bend your legs. From there, you can lie back down onto the mat. You want your heels equidistant from your rear end, and you want your toes pointed straight ahead, ankles align with the knees. From here, pull the belly button in, flatten out the low back, and then we're driving through the heels up into hip extension. So we want hip extension, not spine extension. And what you're going to find, if you feel a lot of a curve in your low back, you know that you've hit spine extension. So you want to keep that belly button pulled in, low back flat, and then we're driving through the heels, keeping the belly button pulled in and getting the glutes engaged. If you're feeling your butt cheeks, we know that we're doing a much better job of going into hip extension, not spine extension. So you want your pelvis to do the work of lifting, not the muscles of your low back. Just make sure you have a good heel drive. I like to just flatten out my spine before I start the hip extension. And then once I have it, I want to hang out just for a second at the top of that bridge before coming back down. Come out of it, just lift up and slide your legs to the floor, the shins parallel to the floor. You're going to start with this band right at your sternum. So what you want to do is you want to fight the rotation that's going to happen as you press this band up to the ceiling. So keep your belly button pulled in, low back press into the floor, and then from there, we're extending that band straight up into the air without letting our body rotate and then bringing it back down. If you're doing this right and you're fighting that rotation, feel a lot of core engagement going on as you do this. So again, band starts at the sternum, low back's flat. We hold that tabletop position, keep our core muscles engaged. If I were to let the band pull me, it would either pull me this way or pull my whole body off as I keeping that good core tension. So you've got to really anchor your body towards the floor, keep your core muscles engaged as you slowly press your arms up overhead and then bring your arms back down. You can hear by my voice the amount of effort it takes to stay engaged and stay square in that. For the low to high chop, the band is, or the cable is going to be anchored at the base. You could use a band for this. Cable is nice too because it keeps a little bit more continuity on the weight from top to bottom. So we're going to start with both hands on the handle. The side closest to the handle is going to be the underhand, and the side furthest away is going to be the overhand. And you just want to take them right on top of each other so you make a hook grip. From here, you're going to do about a 45-degree turn here. You don't have to do the full turn, especially right now, because what we're really trying to do in this low to high chop is learn how to keep the back shoulder and hip together. So we'll start with a smaller angle and then we can work up to this. So what you'll do is you'll step out about 45 degrees. And then what we're going to do is we're going to transition our load from our back foot, which is where the cable wants us to be, to our front foot, because we got to free up this back foot to be able to pivot. So from here, you're going to load up that front foot, and then you're going to take the shoulder and your hip, and you're going to take your arms overhead by pivoting your whole torso backside to this overhead position, and then come back down, transition the weight back to the back leg. So start with a shift, we're going to transition to the front leg, then from there we take the arms up overhead and come back down. So you can see as I transition from hands down below to hands overhead, my shoulder and my hip move together as I pivot through that motion, which means I don't want to do this slinky motion where I turn my hip before I turn my shoulder, because that puts a weird torque on my spine. The whole point of this exercise is to learn how to keep that core engaged and do our chops without losing that continuity between or that stability in the core. So for this last exercise, we'll do a dead bug. We're going to use the physio ball to ensure that our dead bug is engaged. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our elbows and our knees lean into this ball. So I'm keeping tension. From here, I'm going to do a heel tap, but I've got to keep the ball squeezed between my elbows and my knees as I do this heel tap. So the ball stays tight. I'm driving my elbows and the one knee that's staying engaged against the ball into the ball to keep pressure on the ball as I do this heel tap. You can let your head rest on the floor. It does not have to be engaged. And your spine does not necessarily have to be flat against the floor, but there should be no increase as in the arch of your back as you take your heel down to the ground. If you're doing this right, you'll feel a lot of engagement in those core muscles.